For centuries, some dolls belong to the most creepy and mysterious toys in the world, just like in this story. A wooden doll with a grotesquely oversized jaw. A seven-headed mouse king seeking revenge for his mother's murder. A young prince cursed into permanent disfigurement for saving a vain princess. And a godfather who orchestrates the entire nightmare from the shadows, pulling strings like the master puppeteer he is. That's the real Nutcracker. And every Christmas, we celebrate a sanitized version that erased every drop of blood. You think you know this story? Tchaikovsky's 1892 ballet gave you dancing snowflakes, a Sugar Plum Fairy, and Clara swept away to a kingdom of sweets. Disney gave you romance and wonder, beautiful, innocent, perfect for the whole family. But E.T.A. Hoffmann's 1816 original wasn't written for children. It was Gothic horror disguised as a fairy tale. A revenge tragedy wrapped in body horror, where curses are real, transformations are permanent, and the grotesque disfigurement of a young man's face is the price paid for a princess's vanity. Today, we're unwrapping what 200 years of sanitization has hidden. Ernst Theodor Amadeus Hoffmann wasn't a children's author. He was one of the founders of German Romanticism and Gothic horror literature. Born in 1776 in Königsberg, Prussia, Hoffmann lived a fractured life. Failed lawyer, struggling composer, alcoholic. A man whose personal demons bled into every word he wrote. His stories explored the uncanny, that disturbing space where the familiar becomes strange, where reality blurs with nightmare. When Hoffmann wrote The Nutcracker and the Mouse King in 1816, he was 40 years old, drinking heavily, and obsessed with themes of duality and transformation. His other works included tales of doppelgangers, animated dolls, and the breakdown of sanity. He wrote about men whose reflections gained independence, women who turned out to be automatons, children who discovered that adults were wearing masks. This was not a man who wrote cheerful Christmas stories. Hoffmann understood something fundamental about fairy tales. They're most effective when they're terrifying, when they reveal uncomfortable truths about human nature, when they make you question what's real. And The Nutcracker, it's his masterpiece of the uncanny. Let's talk about GODPAPA Drosselmeier. In modern versions, he's a whimsical old man who gives Clara a special gift, and perhaps orchestrates a bit of Christmas magic. Charming, harmless, grandfatherly. In Hoffmann's original, Drosselmeier is something else entirely. He's described as having a glass eye and wearing a wig. He's a clockmaker who creates elaborate mechanical toys, automatons that move and seem alive, but aren't. He has the ability to fix broken things, including the Nutcracker's jaw when it breaks. But here's what's disturbing. He seems to know everything that's going to happen. He's not surprised by the Mouse King's appearance. He's not shocked when the Nutcracker comes to life. He tells the story of Princess Pirlipat and the curse as if he lived through it himself. Because he did. Drosselmeier isn't just Marie's godfather. He's the architect of the entire nightmare. And the question Hoffmann forces you to ask is this magic? Or has Drosselmeier created an elaborate psychological manipulation using his mechanical skills and knowledge of the past? The uncanny doesn't come from the Mouse King or the Nutcracker coming to life. It comes from Drosselmeier, a human man who orchestrates events with the precision of clockwork, who stands in the shadows pulling strings, who might not be using magic at all. That's true horror, not supernatural, human. But to understand why the Nutcracker has his grotesque appearance, we need to go back to the story within the story that Hoffmann embedded at the heart of his tale, the story of Princess Pirlipat and the curse. Princess Pirlipat was extraordinarily beautiful, so beautiful that her mother, the queen, became obsessed with preserving that beauty. The queen had a particular love for sausages made from lard. But so did the Mouse Queen, Mouserlinx, and her 7 sons. One day, after the king's sausages were prepared, the Mouse Queen and her family invaded the palace and devoured the lard. The king was furious. He ordered his court inventor, Drosselmeier, to create elaborate mousetraps to capture the rodent family. The traps worked. The Mouse King and 6 of his sons were killed, but the Mouse Queen escaped, barely. Before fleeing, she appeared before the cradle of baby Princess Pirlipat and pronounced a curse. The princess would be transformed into something so grotesque, so hideous, that no one could look at her without revulsion. Her head would swell to enormous size. Her mouth would stretch from ear to ear, and her jaw would become a mechanical contraption, enormous and jutting, capable of cracking the hardest nuts. The curse took effect immediately. The beautiful princess became a monster. Her parents were horrified. The kingdom was in despair. And Drosselmeier, blamed for failing to protect the princess, was given an ultimatum. Find a way to break the curse within a certain time, or be executed. Drosselmeier consulted astrologers, traveled to distant lands, and finally discovered the cure. The princess must eat the kernel of the Krakatuk nut, cracked by a young man who had never shaved, who had always worn boots, and who would crack the nut with his teeth while walking backward 7 steps with his eyes closed, never stumbling. And the moment he finished those 7 steps, the curse would be broken. The princess would be beautiful again. But there was a price. Drosselmeier's nephew, a young, handsome man, was the one who met the requirements. He cracked the Krakatuk nut. Princess Pirlipat instantly transformed back into her beautiful self. The kingdom rejoiced. The nephew took his 7 steps backward, eyes closed, careful not to stumble. 6 steps. Perfect. On the 7th step, something moved beneath his boot. The Mouse Queen, Mouserlinx's last surviving son, had been waiting. A mouse, small and vengeful, positioned itself deliberately beneath the nephew's foot. He stumbled. The curse transferred. In an instant, the nephew's body contorted, his head swelled, his jaw jutted forward, growing enormous, wooden, grotesque, a permanent nutcracker jaw. His body became stiff, mechanical, doll-like. And Princess Pirlipat, now restored to beauty, looked at him with revulsion. "Take that hideous thing away from me," she said. The nephew, now the Nutcracker, had sacrificed everything to save her. And in return, she rejected him with disgust. Drosselmeier was exiled from the kingdom for failing to complete the cure properly, and his nephew was left transformed, neither fully human nor fully doll. A grotesque hybrid, a walking reminder of vanity and ingratitude. But the Mouse Queen's youngest son, now the 7-headed Mouse King, wasn't finished. He swore vengeance, not just for his mother and brothers, but for the injustice done to his family. This is the origin story that Tchaikovsky and Dumas erased completely. No curse, no Princess Pirlipat, no body horror, no permanent disfigurement, no commentary on vanity and sacrifice. Just a handsome prince, temporarily trapped in wood, waiting to be freed by a kiss. In Hoffmann's original, the protagonist isn't Clara, it's Marie Stahlbaum. And she's not a passive dreamer. When the Nutcracker comes to life on Christmas Eve and battles the Mouse King's army, Marie doesn't throw her shoe and watch from safety. She opens the glass cabinet where the Nutcracker is kept, cutting her arm on the broken glass in the process, and watches as the battle unfolds. The toys come to life. Dolls march with matchstick rifles. Gingerbread soldiers advance. But they're no match for the Mouse King's army. The mice are winning. The Nutcracker, with his grotesque jaw and wooden body, fights desperately, but he's outnumbered. The seven-headed Mouse King corners him, all seven mouths open, ready to devour him. Marie, bleeding from her arm, throws her shoe. But here's what's different. The battle doesn't end. The Mouse King isn't defeated. He retreats, but he's not dead. And he begins appearing to Marie night after night, demanding payment, tribute, sweets and toys from her dollhouse. Marie is being extorted by a supernatural creature. And she complies, terrified, giving away her Christmas presents one by one to appease the Mouse King's endless hunger. This isn't a fairy tale where good triumphs. This is psychological horror, where a child is being tormented and blackmailed by something that shouldn't exist. Finally, the Nutcracker gives Marie a small sword and asks her to trust him. That night, he fights the Mouse King again, and this time, he decapitates all seven heads. The image of seven mouse heads rolling across the floor on Christmas Eve. That's what Hoffmann gave his readers. And the adults? They don't believe Marie. They think she's having fever dreams from the cut on her arm. They dismiss her terror as childish imagination. Hoffmann understood that one of childhood's greatest horrors is not being believed by adults when something real is happening. After the Mouse King's death, the Nutcracker reveals his true identity. He's Drosselmeier's nephew, cursed by the mouse's revenge. He takes Marie to the kingdom of dolls, not a kingdom of sweets, but a kingdom made entirely of artificial things. Mechanical wonders, clockwork people, beautiful but hollow. And here's where Hoffmann's genius shows. Is this kingdom real? Or has Marie, traumatized and bleeding, created an elaborate fantasy to cope with what she's experienced? Hoffmann never confirms it. He leaves it ambiguous, uncanny. The adults find Marie unconscious by the glass cabinet, blood on her arm, talking about battles and mouse kings and magical kingdoms. They see a disturbed child. We see something else. In the final scene, Drosselmeier's nephew, in human form now, the curse broken, comes to claim Marie as his bride. She's a child. He's an adult man. And as they prepare to leave together for the Kingdom of Dolls, Marie's parents allow it, because Drosselmeier arranged it. The story ends with Marie vanishing into a kingdom of artificial things, where everything is beautiful and nothing is real, claimed by a man who was once a grotesque doll, orchestrated by a godfather who has controlled every element from the beginning. That's not a happy ending. That's abduction. By the mid-1800s, society wanted fairy tales to be moral lessons with clear good and evil. They wanted Christmas stories to be about magic and wonder, not body horror and revenge. Alexandre Dumas adapted Hoffmann's story in 1844, removing the curse's origin, simplifying the Mouse King's motivation, and making Clara, not Marie, the protagonist. He turned it into a straightforward battle between good and evil, with a clear, happy ending. Tchaikovsky's Ballet went further. He removed almost all plot, turning the Nutcracker into a series of beautiful dances. The Kingdom of Sweets replaced the Kingdom of Dolls. The Sugar Plum Fairy appeared, a character who doesn't exist in Hoffmann's original. And the dark ambiguity became colorful certainty. The ballet became so popular that it overwrote the source material entirely. Most people today have never read Hoffmann's version. They don't know about Princess Pirlipat. They don't know the Nutcracker's jaw is permanent disfigurement, not temporary enchantment. They don't know the Mouse King is a victim seeking justice for his murdered family. They know the ballet, and the ballet is a lie. But here's what fascinates me most about the Nutcracker. It's Hoffmann's meditation on transformation and masks. The Nutcracker isn't really about mice or magic. It's about surfaces and what lies beneath. Drosselmeier wears a wig and has a glass eye, artificial surfaces hiding something underneath. The Nutcracker has a human soul trapped in a wooden shell. Princess PIRLIPAT is beautiful outside, but monstrous inside. The toys come to life, revealing that the boundary between animate and inanimate is thinner than we believe. And Marie? She's the only one who sees through the surfaces, who recognizes that the grotesque Nutcracker contains a human being worthy of love, who understands that beauty and monstrosity aren't opposites, they coexist. Hoffmann wrote The Nutcracker at a time when he was drinking heavily, his health failing, his career as a composer having never achieved the success he wanted. He was a man who felt like a grotesque thing in a world that valued beautiful surfaces, a man who understood what it meant to have something precious inside you that no one could see because they were too repulsed by your exterior. The Nutcracker is his autobiography in fantasy form. And when Dumas and Tchaikovsky removed the grotesque jaw, the permanent curse, the ambiguous ending, they removed Hoffmann's soul from his own story. E.T.A. Hoffmann died in 1822, 6 years after writing The Nutcracker. He was 46 years old, his body destroyed by syphilis and alcoholism. In his final months, he was paralyzed, unable to write with his hands. He dictated his last works, including a savage critique of Prussian authoritarianism that would influence generations of German writers. He died, believing his musical compositions would be his legacy. They weren't. He's remembered for his dark fairy tales, for his exploration of the uncanny, for understanding that the most horrifying transformations aren't the ones done by witches, they're the ones society forces on us when we don't fit their standards of beauty or normalcy. The Nutcracker was one of his final major works, and in it, he encoded everything he'd learned about masks and monsters, that we're all wearing costumes, and beneath them, we're all grotesque and beautiful at once. The original Nutcracker isn't about Christmas magic. It's about the price of vanity, about how curses transfer from the guilty to the innocent, about how the grotesque are rejected while the beautiful are adored, regardless of what lies beneath the surface. It's about a child who sees a wooden doll with a monstrous jaw and recognizes the human soul trapped inside, who loves the grotesque thing when no one else will, who fights alongside him even when adults tell her she's imagining things. And it's about a godfather who orchestrates the entire story from the shadows, a puppet master pulling strings, who might be using elaborate mechanical tricks rather than magic, and who ultimately claims the child for his own purposes. That's not a Christmas story. That's Gothic horror. But every December, the ballet returns. The Sugar Plum Fairy dances, families gather, and no one remembers the 7 heads rolling across the floor, the grotesque jaw that will never heal, the princess who rejected her savior, the child who was never believed. They remember the pretty version, the safe version, the lie. E.T.A. Hoffmann wrote a story about how we prefer beautiful surfaces to uncomfortable truths, about how we sanitize darkness until nothing real remains. And then we proved him right by doing exactly that to his story. The Nutcracker wasn't meant to be a Christmas tradition. It was meant to be a warning that the most dangerous transformations are the ones we don't notice, that the real monsters wear human faces, that the price of vanity is always paid by someone else. Every time you watch the ballet, you're watching a corpse wearing pretty clothes. The real story, Hoffmann's story, is buried beneath 2 centuries of sanitization, but it's still there. In the original text, in the grotesque jaw, in the 7-headed mouse king seeking justice for his murdered mother, in the child who wasn't believed. in The Godfather pulling strings. The Nutcracker isn't a fairy tale that got darker over time. It's a Gothic horror story that got turned into a fairy tale. And every Christmas, we celebrate the lie.